So hello and welcome to anyone who's watching this back later on. We're just getting started with our online fundraising session, looking at how you can use digital channels to fundraise effectively, especially as we approach the campaign season. And so looking at our agenda, we're going to start off by focusing on how your organisations can all make the most of the opportunity that is digital fundraising. So by the end of today, we'd like you all to know the benefits, explore the main tools, and leave with strategies that will help you drive more traffic to your donation pages. So we're starting with the basics and then looking at some practical tools like donation pages, crowdfunding platforms, and different examples of what works well so that you can take ideas back to your own campaigns. And then we'll look at how to get people to actually use your donation pages, how to kind of spread the word far and wide across your different channels. And then we'll have time to discuss what you specifically need to do to make sure that you're really optimized for successful online fundraising. And then we'll reflect together and share one action for everyone to take away. And if you have any questions or thoughts as we go through, feel free to drop us a message, raise your hand at any point, and be very happy to hear from you. But just before we get started, we'll do some introductions. If you haven't met me yet, my name is Jasmine, and it's great to see you all today. Before joining the Bridge team here at Lightfall, I worked at an international nonprofit where we ran lots of fundraising appeals. Some of them were seasonal campaigns as well as emergency appeals too, and across multiple channels to really engage very different audiences. So today's session is a collection of our different tips and advice from the team to help you with your fundraising, and I'm looking forward to discussing that with you all. And I'm also joined by Simran, so I'll hand over to her now.
Thank you, Jasmine. So yeah, hi everyone, I'm Simran. So great to see all the introductions flowing through in the chat. I've actually come from 5 years of experience of working in social media and outreach within the charity sector, where I worked on numerous fundraising campaigns. And although they all looked really different on the outside in terms of content, tone, and maybe imagery, they all followed a very similar strategy, which we found to work for us. So I'm excited to share some of those insights here with you today. But before we begin, I want to go through our learning outcomes. So first of all, hopefully you'll be leaving with the ability to identify the benefits of online fundraising for your organization, and also to explore and compare different online fundraising methods, as well as developing strategies to increase donation page visibility. And also, I'd like to start by getting to know a little bit more about you. So we have 2 questions that should pop up on your screen now. And they are, do you currently raise funds online? And secondly, how confident do you feel in your organization's ability to raise unrestricted income through your digital channels? And these polls will actually be used to create our breakout rooms a little bit later on. So I know you probably will, but try and answer as closely as possible. Possibly you can to your experience. A little bit of a tongue twister there. So thank you. I can see everyone's results coming through. And I feel like we've got a good mixed bunch here with us today. A good mix of people that do currently raise funds online as well as confidence. And now let's move on to introducing you to online fundraising, although I'm sure a lot of you already know a lot about it. So fundraising has always been at the heart of a nonprofit because, of course, you need to raise money in order to maintain the programming that helps you work towards your mission. However, fundraising itself has evolved over the years. I'm sure everyone here has noticed, where it was once primarily reliant on in-person and mailed-in contributions, but it now focuses very heavily on online giving, which means we need to focus a lot on digital fundraising. So many people spend time online now, whether that's browsing the web, communicating via email, or interacting with various social media apps. So it's really important to reach people where they are active, using the tools that they prefer to communicate with in order to engage them with your organization. And digital fundraising uses online fundraising techniques and applications to reach a larger audience, steward new donors, and build greater relationships with your donor base. It is an ongoing process which you start through your online outreach techniques using your website, emails, and social media, as well as using them together and in combination with each other to reach a wider audience. And as I mentioned, today digital isn't just a nice to have for nonprofits. It's very much essential, which is why I'm sure a lot of you are glad to be here today. Supporters expect to be able to connect and give online. If your organization isn't meeting them where they are, on their phones, laptops, and their social media feeds, then you really do risk missing out on donations and engagement. Digital tools also let you reach far beyond your immediate community. So instead of relying only on local events or mail campaigns, you can connect with supporters across the country or even around the world. And importantly, digital fundraising gives you data and insights that you can't get from the traditional methods. You could track what's working, understand donor behavior, and also make smarter decisions to grow support. In short, digital is no longer optional because it's where your donors already are, and it's how they expect to interact with the causes that they care about. So let's start by looking at the benefits. And online giving really does offer donors several important benefits. And of course, we want to make it as easy as possible for people to make a donation. Firstly, it's incredibly convenient. People can give at any time from anywhere, whether they're at home, at work, or even on the go. And that flexibility makes it much easier for supporters to act even when they feel or act when they feel inspired. Second, donors can set up recurring gifts with just a few clicks. This means they don't have to remember to give each month. The process is automatic and it allows them to stay connected to the cause in a consistent way. Another benefit is that many platforms make it simple for donors to share their giving. They can let friends and family know about the causes they support, which often encourages others to get involved too. And then finally, donors can give with confidence. Online giving platforms are designed to be secure, so they know that their financial information is protected and their contributions are safe. But online giving doesn't just benefit donors, it's also hugely valuable for your organization. Firstly, it's a cost-effective way to fundraise. Compared to printing, postage, or hosting in-person events, digital platforms are far more affordable and can deliver strong returns. And secondly, every online donation gives you a chance to capture donor information. That's names, emails, and even their preferences. And that data is really powerful for building stronger relationships and also personalizing future outreach for your campaigns or even just your general online strategies. Third, digital channels help you engage new audiences. So people who might never attend a gala or respond to a letter can discover your work online and support it instantly. It also helps you increase brand awareness because each campaign or social share puts your organization in front of more eyes, building recognition for your mission. That's a really nice little lyric there. And finally, online fundraising is easy to measure and monitor. You can see results in real time, understand what's working, and adjust quickly to improve performance. So, really, online giving is a win-win and it makes giving easier and more rewarding for donors. And at the same time, it gives your organization powerful tools to grow, engage, and sustain support. And that's why investing in digital isn't just smart, it's essential for lasting impact. So moving on to our fundraising terms, there are 6 that we're going to be mentioning today, and that some of you might already be familiar with, but I just kind of want to go over these just to ensure that everyone's on the same page as we move on. So firstly, we have a fundraising appeal or a fundraising campaign, and this essentially is an ask or request for donations. Some organizations will refer to campaigns as appeals when they are campaigns specifically for fundraising. And then we have conversion rate, which is a really important term. And it's also a really important metric to track the success of your online giving. And this is the percentage of individuals who donate once they visit your website or online giving platform. It's essentially essentially you're tracking how many individuals you have converted into donors. And then we have crowdfunding, and this is when you ask a large number of people for a small amount of money. And it's really effective for community fundraising, and using tools like Just Giving or GoFundMe are really helpful for this. And it's also quite similar to peer-to-peer fundraising. And peer-to-peer fundraising is when individuals fundraise themselves for a cause that they care about. And some of you might have had individuals who have maybe ran a marathon or done a sponsored swim on your organization's behalf, and they have set up their own page on a fundraising platform and raised money, and that's what we call peer-to-peer fundraising. These are really popular in the UK and the US for community events. So that's all about running, swimming, or even cycles. It's really, really easy for an individual to set up their own donation page through third-party tools, and also a great way to get your engaged supporters involved in fundraising for your cause. And then we have customer relationship management database. I think I recall someone mentioning they're busy setting that up on the chat box earlier today. But you also hear the term CRM system, and this is something that some of you might already have. Essentially, it's a database of information on your donors and supporters, or maybe even volunteers, and also their donation history as well. Some of you might be on Salesforce or Raiser's Edge. There's a few different ones out there. But these are really great for tracking your donor data, and that will allow you to then make sure in your outreach to donors that you're really personalizing the content and tailoring your communications that goes out. It also helps you group your donors together or segment your donors based on their giving history and their giving capacity as well, which will come in really useful when it comes to donor stewardship, something we'll be looking at a little bit later on in your journey on Bridge. And then we have transaction fees. And these are fees that nonprofits sometimes pay when they accept donations on third-party platforms. The good thing is that a lot of these platforms allow your donors to offset those fees. So in your donation page for Just Giving and GoFundMe, there's a tick box that donors can select, and that will allow them to offset the transaction fees. So there's no cost to your organization as the donor covers the fees. Okay, so that's enough of me talking. Before we look at how you can use online channels to fundraise, I want to start with your goals, as this will then help guide you through today's session as you think about where to invest time when it comes to online fundraising. So I want you to take just 2 minutes to draft a fundraising goal for your organization and share it in the chat. And remember the SMART acronym. So make sure it's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. And it might also be short-term or long-term, or even specific to the year-end giving. So I'll give you some time to think of those goals now. When you have your goal, do feel free to share it in the chat. And I can see we've got one come through from Trisha, which is to increase annual giving by 5% over their previous year. And the annual giving goal is, so much coming through, is 1.25 million. And that's a really amazing goal. I can see that you've been specific with that, with your numbers. And that's, I feel like, a really good one and easy one to track. So thank you for sharing. And then we have Elena, who shared that while this isn't specific to our year-end goal, we do have an upcoming campaign goal of receiving 150 donations in 30 days to support art, garden, and community access programming at the museum. And the 150 is tied to our founder who turned 150 this year. That's amazing. It's always really good kind of tying it into your own organizational keystone event. So that's a really great way to tie it into your story. Thanks so much for sharing. I can see a lot coming in, and I can see a lot of numbers showing me that you're all being very specific and measurable. So nice to see that all of these goals are smart. So I'll let Sabina look through those while I move on to effective online fundraising strategies. So now that we've looked at the benefits of digital giving, let's turn to look at how you can make it work effectively for your organization. Successful online fundraising isn't about using every single tool that's out there. It's actually about choosing the right strategies and making them work together. So that's your website, your social media, and even third-party fundraising platforms, and they all play a very different role. So I'm now going to be walking you through these methods in detail and show how, when used strategically, they can help you reach more people, build trust, and also inspire greater giving. And let's start with one of the most important parts of your online fundraising strategy, and that's your donation page. For many supporters, your website is the very first place they go to when they want to give. And we want you to think of your website and donation page as your digital front door. If it's welcoming, clear, and easy to use, people will walk straight on through. But if it's confusing or cluttered, they might turn away. Websites are also seen as trustworthy sources of information, and having an effective donation page on your website builds trust. Your donation page is where interest turns into action. All the social media posts, emails, and the campaigns you run will eventually point people there. So the way this page looks and feels has a direct impact on whether someone completes their gift. We're now going to look at the best practices that makes a donation page effective, the small design choices and psychological triggers that help donors feel confident, inspired, and ready to give. And hopefully you'll all walk away with some ways that maybe you can improve yours, or maybe a framework in which you can approach yours. So first, let's look at this donation page, the screenshot of a donation page from Save the Children as an example of an effective online fundraising design. Before we dive into what makes it effective, I want to pose the question to you all. So what do you think makes this donation page effective and good for, and easy maybe for a donor to give? So we've got Tim saying predetermined amounts and pre-selected amounts. Definitely, they've given you options, which makes it very simple and kind of guides the donor towards a certain journey, which is really good. The big buttons make it clear. Yeah, definitely. That's something we'll be talking a little bit about later on. And I can see a lot of comments coming through about it being simple and clear. And that's pretty much the reason why we kind of chose this, because it's very simple and accessible. So thank you everyone for sharing. And I'm just going to elaborate on what you guys have already said. So the first thing is, yeah, this donation page is very simple and accessible. You can notice how clean and straightforward the layout is. The donation options are very clear. You could give £3, £7, or £12, with also the option to give monthly being highlighted in red. And this reduces decision fatigue and makes it easy for donors to act very quickly, which is, again, everything that you guys said. So well done. You also have the Donate Now button, which is large and red and very impossible to miss. And that ensures accessibility for all users. And I remember Brian mentioning that one. And then we also have a compelling headline. So the headline, Protect the Magic This Christmas, is powerful and emotionally resonant. It connects the act of donating to a bigger story of not just giving money, but protecting something that's precious to us all, which is Christmas. And this type of messaging helps potential donors feel the why behind their giving. And then we also have their visual storytelling. I think I saw someone mention the picture. The image of the child reaching up towards the stars and a castle reinforces the idea of protecting childhood and magic. And it's aspirational, hopeful, and most of all, human, all of which creates an emotional connection. Donors are far more likely to give when they can picture the impact of the gift. And I feel like that image does that really well in a silent way. And then we have the clarity of impact. So below the donation amounts, as you can see, there's a simple explanation, which is £7 could provide 3 bottles of hand sanitizer in medical clinics. So it's linking a donation amount to a tangible outcome, which builds trust and motivates action. And together, all of these elements, which is simplicity, strong messaging, visual storytelling, and clarity of impact, makes this donation page a great example of what to aim for in your own fundraising strategy. And now I kind of want to unpack these design elements in terms of what makes them so powerful and why. It's not just about looking nice, but each choice is rooted in psychology and donor behavior. So as I mentioned before, I mentioned simplicity and accessibility. Research shows that people are more likely to complete the task when it requires less cognitive effort. So by presenting only a few donation options, which is 3, remember the power of 3, which is £3, £7, and £12, it reduces the choice overload. And too many options can paralyze decision making. So a clear set makes the action a lot easier. And then we're going to go back to that large red donate now button, which takes advantage of visual salience. Our brains are wired to notice strong color contrast, and red also signals urgency and importance. So definitely don't overlook the importance of color when it comes to your donation page and website. And now we're going to move on to the compelling headline, which is Protect the Magic This Christmas. And this really taps into emotional storytelling, which is something we'll be going a little bit more into later on in your bridge journey. It basically frames the act of donating not as a transaction, but as a chance to protect something universal. And that here is a child's sense of wonder. This connects to the psychological principle of identity and values alignment. Donors give when they see their values being reflected back to them. And we basically, I recommend looking at seasonal framing. So whether it's Christmas, Eid, Easter, all of this adds a temporal trigger, and people are more generous during holidays, and this copy reminds them of that. And then we have the visual storytelling. The image of the child reaching up is a form of narrative transportation. Viewers can imagine the story and place themselves in it. When people are emotionally engaged in a narrative, they are more likely to act. And then I have my most favorite fact, and that's showing a single identifiable child is especially powerful because this taps into the identifiable, I wouldn't say victim, but beneficiary effect. There was a powerful study called The Donor is in the Details, where it showed that people are more motivated to give when they can picture helping one person rather than an abstract group. So that is really helpful when it comes to your language and when it comes to your campaign as well as your imagery. And then we have linking your amounts to tangible outcomes makes the donation feels effective and real. So when you design your donation pages, think about what's happening in your donor's mind. You want to make giving easy, emotionally engaging, and deeply meaningful. And that's how you move someone from intention to action. And also the biggest thing of the most major thing of all of this is to say thank you. If there's one thing to remember about donation page, it's saying thank you. And that's probably the most important part of the whole process. From a psychological perspective, gratitude closes the loop. Donors don't just want to give, they want to feel that their gift is noticed and valued. And a thank you makes the experience positive, memorable, and something they'll want to repeat. So this thank you can appear right on your donation page immediately after the gift is made. And that little moment of seeing a heartfelt message or an image showing the difference that your donation is making is really incredibly powerful. And it basically helps turn that transaction into a relationship. Equally important is following up with a thank you email. People check their inbox for confirmation, and that's your chance to go beyond a receipt. So I'm now going to hand it over to Jasmine, who's going to go over social media.
Great, thanks, Simran. So yeah, looking at that in kind of the detail of the importance of your website and donation page is often really the main place where that giving happens. But the reality is people don't usually just stumble onto your website or just decide on a whim to go and find your donation page. Most of the time anyway, you need to guide them there. And that's where social media can play a really great role. So social platforms like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok are really powerful tools to connect with supporters where they're already spending their time. And that's where you can share stories, celebrate impact, and invite people to make the step of looking at your website or making a donation. At the same time, these platforms are evolving. I'm sure I find it hard to keep up, and I spend a lot of time studying and looking at social media. But it's not only about driving traffic from social media to your website. Lots of these channels now have built-in fundraising tools. So Facebook has donate buttons. There's kind of donation stickers you can have on Instagram stories. TikTok are growing their range of nonprofit tools as well. And all of these features allow people to give directly without actually leaving the app that they're in. So social media can really serve two purposes. So it can raise awareness and bring people to your donation page, but it can also be a fundraising channel in its own right. So we're going to have a look now at how to make the most of both of these approaches. So social media plays a different role to your website. A website is a destination. People often go there deliberately. Maybe they're feeling motivated to act and they're ready to kind of look at the content on the page. But social media is much more crowded, it's fast moving, it's very busy, and you're competing with a lot, whether that's friend updates, entertainment, news. And so to break through, your message has to feel relevant, personal, and immediate. And I'd also say it can be helpful to post about the same message multiple times. Sometimes we worry about doing that, but sharing the same message in different formats is helpful because often people need to see something online multiple times to remember it and take action, particularly with the amount of content we consume now. So looking at the post on the screen, we just want to show you how you can use different formats of social media posts as part of your fundraising. The first post on the left is a Facebook advert. It includes a self-filmed face-to-camera video, which is still at the moment, but this is a paid post. This is an advert, so it's likely been targeted to be seen by specific audiences. And then the post copy starts with Eid Mubarak to you and your loved ones. So this works because it's culturally aware, it recognises that special moment that Simran mentioned earlier. And the ask then feels timely and respectful, and it's targeted at that particular audience group that they have. And we're not going to watch the video now, but just in the way that it's self-filmed, it's face to camera, I think that authenticity really stands out, and you want to hear what the person has to say because actually it doesn't look corporate. It actually looks quite similar in style to maybe the other posts you might see in your feed. And then the middle post is from LinkedIn. And actually LinkedIn is increasingly becoming a space for this kind of content, which it definitely didn't used to be. But the posts are super eye-catching. It encourages people to join the movement, inviting people to feel part of something that's bigger than themselves. And then finally on the right, Choose Love has posted an Instagram carousel. So that's multiple images you can swipe through. And the header is really clear. It just says, help us raise $5 million for refugee children. And the key thing with all of these is that they have a call to action. They say exactly what they want the audience to do, and they make it inviting as well. So no one here is left guessing what the post is about, what the organisation does, or how they can get involved. Unlike a website where you can have paragraphs of text, social media really needs to grab attention instantly. So the combination of bold headlines, strong images, and short, snappy copy makes sure that the message is being understood in a few seconds. And because our social feeds are obviously so crowded, that clarity is so important. And so each post has one ask, not multiple different asks. And that's one of the reasons that they stand out. So when we think about fundraising on social media, the lesson is really to speak the language of your audience, connect your message to what's happening now, what's important to them, keep it short and visual, and invite people to join something that's bigger than themselves. So some things to think about could be what kind of language would resonate most with your audience, and then thinking about awareness days, seasonal moments to connect your fundraising call with your audience. I noticed someone in the chat mentioned about having a campaign linked to an anniversary of your founder, I think, and that can be a really great way to engage your audience. So feel free to share in the chat if any of you have used other awareness days or key moments to connect with your audience in that way. And when it comes to social media, the most important thing is to make it as easy as possible to give, which I think is something that's going to come through in everything that we're saying today. But luckily, the platforms have lots of built-in tools now that help you do that, which is really helpful because people don't usually want to leave the platform that they're on. So we're going to walk through some of the most useful ones and how you could use those to support your campaigns. Firstly, we have the link in bio. So on platforms like Instagram and TikTok, you can't add clickable links directly into your post caption. So the link in your profile bio is essential. And this is where you should always have your donation page or campaign landing page linked. And if you're running multiple campaigns at once, you can use tools like Linktree or Beacons to have several links listed in one place. And the key here is just to make sure you remind people, as part of your call to action, click the link in your bio. Next are donation stickers and buttons, and these are really powerful because they reduce the number of steps that someone has to take in order to give. So you could add a donation sticker in an Instagram story. At Facebook and YouTube, let you put donate buttons on your posts or your videos. And the more steps you ask people to take, the more likely they are to get distracted. So this is really helpful to keep it simple. Another easy thing to do, which I think we mentioned in our last session, is using pinned posts. So every platform now lets you pin a post or multiple posts to the top of your profile. So then if you're in the middle of a fundraising campaign, pinning your main appeal post means that's the first thing someone sees when they land on your page, which is a really small step that just makes sure that your most important ask doesn't get covered over by other things that you'll be talking about. And you could also update your cover photo too, so it's really relevant and eye-catching. And then we have events and live fundraising tools. So Facebook fundraisers let you set up a dedicated fundraising event, track progress, and invite other people to contribute. You could do Instagram lives, Facebook lives, and these let you add donation buttons while you broadcast. And this can be really cool because it creates that energy and the urgency, because you can see donations coming in live. People can join in that moment, and often other people's generosity can encourage others in turn. And that turns it into more of like a social collective experience too. The other thing that probably most people are familiar with is hashtags, but you can use hashtags in different ways. So you can use them like hashtag Giving Tuesday to connect with a bigger campaign. So then your content can be seen by people outside of your immediate followers who might be interested in a particular campaign. But you can also create your own campaign hashtag so that supporters can join in, tag their own posts, and really make the movement feel collective together. So that's a couple of ways you can use them. But I'd say when you're planning your next fundraising campaign, think about these tools as part of your toolkit, because each one of these, sometimes little things, can just make it easier and more engaging for people to support you. But also be aware, some of these features are restricted to certain locations, and you often need to opt into a platform's nonprofit program to unlock some of them. So if you need support in setting any of them up, feel free to book in a one-to-one with any of the team. We'd be very happy to help. And then the third kind of channel we're talking about today is fundraising platforms. We're going to look at some examples, but first just wanted to kind of share why they exist and why they matter, because you might think we can just collect donations on our website page. So why would we want to use a third-party fundraising tool? And actually these platforms exist because they do make online giving easier, safer, and more effective, both for you as an organization and for your donors. And so some of you might have a really robust, well set up website fundraising page, which is absolutely fine. But if that's not something you've got, or your journey isn't very smooth, then you might like to start by using one of these tools, because they can take off some of that heavy lift of the setup. We know that donors want to feel confident that their payment details are safe. So if they see a well-known platform like PayPal or Global Giving, that's kind of already got that trust built in, and they might be more likely to complete the donation. Then there's convenience. Of course, these platforms are designed to remove barriers and help people donate quickly, set up recurring donations really easily too. They can often build in things like PayPal, Apple Pay, and all those shortcuts, which we know increases the conversion rate, as again, it makes it simple for people to donate. They don't want to go and find their card details or fill in a long form. And we know from previous years, actually, when people have implemented those kind of technologies, it's meant they've seen a higher conversion rate from donors too. Platforms then don't just process the payments for you. Lots of them come with other tools too. So it might be things for peer-to-peer fundraising, event ticketing, managing your donors, and giving you some analytics too, which can be really helpful. And some platforms also connect you to a wider network of donors that you might not reach on your own, or they might have options for corporate fundraising too. And so being listed there can be a way to increase your visibility and credibility. So we'll look quickly now at some of the specific platforms you can use. And there are actually hundreds of third-party giving tools. So we'll just show a few of the most popular ones that we find to you now. And then if you would like to know more, we've got a list of many, many more, which we can help you with if you're looking at choosing one. Global giving allows you to receive donations from all over the world. You can see here you can create your kind of own page where you can tell your story, you can use visuals, you can put in your different donation amounts, and it has the option of lots of different secure payment methods to suit that kind of global approach to fundraising. I'm going to pull up here is an example of a nonprofit's PayPal donation page. Again, PayPal is so recognized that it's kind of got that reputability there, but you can then add your own branding to your page. You can link that then to have a button on your website, link through to it from social media, and make it a bit more your own as well. GiveButter is a free platform which lets you create donation pages and buttons, but it's also really good for organising events and auctions. You can see it's quite a community feel. You can kind of add comments and you can see visuals of people donating there. And DonorBox is the final one I'll show you. It's a great platform that we see lots of people using. This example is actually from a previous Bridge participant who set up their online fundraising from scratch. They also do text to donate and crowdfunding. But in this example, you can see that it's fully integrated into their own website. They've personalized the page. And really the kind of thing about DonorBox is they make it really seamless and quick and embedded into your own page as well. Those are just a few, but if you would like help identifying any, then feel free to reach out to the team and we can share some of our lists with you. And one thing to check is making sure of the availability for your area, but also your donors, and any costs incurred. So some are free, some have fees, and just do check those things before you sign up. But then it's really important to think about each fundraising channel individually, what the aim of each channel is, but also how they work together and complement each other too. So think about your specific audiences, those goals that you set a few moments ago, as well as your digital strategy, and then you can make an informed choice about which channels you want to prioritize using, particularly as you plan for your campaigns. And all of the online fundraising methods we've just talked about give you a huge opportunity to collect and use data well. So instead of just setting up a campaign, hoping that it works, you can actually monitor what's happening in real time and adapt it as needed. So we always say the best place to start is with your SMART goals. So we saw loads of great examples in the chat, and this helps you know exactly what you want to measure. And you can use these to then plan out those key moments throughout the year. Lots of you are working towards some over the coming months anyway. But then you need to remember to regularly review your data and reports, not just to see how much you're raising, but actually where those donations are coming from, and therefore what content and channels is driving the most support. And that helps you to adjust to make sure you're optimizing your work as well. And of course, look at your return on investment. So look at the cost of running a campaign versus how much it brought in, and then which channels are most efficient, which audiences gave the most as well. And this just helps make sure that your fundraising stays cost efficient too. And of course, the more you track, the more you learn about your supporters, and that insight just helps with that continuous improvement. And to make this easier, we've developed a digital fundraising strategy template that will help you set your goals and map out your plan in a Lightflow Academy course, which we'll share at the end of the session and send out to you afterwards as well. So now we just would like to hear from you again in our next poll, which I'll just pull up on your screens, which is just asking what your main funding sources are and your main method of online fundraising. So there's a little bit to read on there, so I'll give you a moment to fill that poll in. And actually, I'll leave that running maybe while I just talk through the next section, so then we can move on to our discussions. And of course, if you integrate all of those tips, you might have an absolutely perfect donation page, which we would love to see, but that isn't going to be useful if no one actually finds your donation page. So we want to make sure that it's seen by as many people as possible. And so there's some simple tips really that I think we've mentioned, but making sure that your donation page is fully integrated with your website. It's easy to find on your homepage, on a big button. Share the link lots. So add it to your social media posts, put it in your email footers, encourage other people to share it too. And then always include that call to action and a link when you're sharing stories. So invite people to act with words like donate today, make a gift now. It's a really great way of driving that traffic through. And actually, I wanted to show you an example of an email I received this week, which was about generating support for an emergency appeal. But there are multiple points where it drives people to visit the donation page. And the effective call to actions, motive storytelling, and clear giving handles won't work unless there's that clear direction to the place to actually make a gift. And as well as those two buttons at the start and the midpoint of the email, there was also another one in the email footer. And clicking on the button led me on a very seamless journey to a campaign-specific landing page. The donation amount was actually already filled in with the suggested mid-level amount that was mentioned in the email, which I could change. So there's an understanding there that that audience on this page has felt moved from that specific email and have incorporated this amount. And as I scrolled down, it also already included my email address and payment details. So there was nothing that would kind of distract me or put me off from donating. And then finally, we mentioned about having those kind of link in bio options on your social media pages. And here's just an example. You might have a call to action in your post that says, go to our link in bio, and click on that and you can see multiple links then. And then you can take people right to that donation page and then people can find it really, really easily. So that's one of the ways that you can integrate that on Instagram and TikTok as well. And so now we've talked through those key channels and shared our tips, it's over to you, and I'll let Simran introduce your breakout rooms.
Thank you, Jasmine. Yeah, so we're now going to go into our discussion groups, all based, and they'll be decided based on your answers to the previous poll. And what we want you to do is to take some time to introduce yourself, share where you are currently at with your online fundraising, and also based on today, what do you need to do to set up your online fundraising for success? So I think we'll give you around 10 minutes for that. And you should receive an invitation to join the breakout rooms. Now, please do click yes, but if you're not able or comfortable joining a breakout room, do stay with us in this call and feel free to post your answers in the chat below. Welcome back, everyone. Sorry to any conversations that we've had to cut short, but it'll be great to kind of get a little bit of an insight from your individual groups. And if anyone would like to come off mute and share, what is one action you'll take to strengthen your online fundraising strategy? So I know there's a lot of talking going on in the chats. I'll let the room slowly close as we still have 20 seconds for people to keep on coming in, but just some thinking time as you post in the chat or have a think before you come off mute and share. Okay, so everyone should be here back from their rooms now. Just to repeat, apologies to any conversations that we've had to cut short, but it'd be great to get an insight from all of you about what you spoke about. And if you can share one action you'll take to strengthen your online strategy, either come off mute or share in the chat. We'd love to hear what you kind of spoke about or maybe what you've kind of learned from this call here today. We've got Lydia messaging that she's going to be creating more consistent messaging for social media strategies to increase funds. And that's really exciting, actually. Thanks so much for sharing, Lydia. I feel like consistent messaging is always important. As I mentioned at the beginning, your campaigns may look different, but like the actual structure of things will be the same when you figure out what works for you and your particular audience. So that's always exciting to hear. Tori's sharing that she's learned that it's okay to utilize the same consistent post here and there, as mentioned on the call. Definitely repurpose all the content that you have. If you see that it's worked one way, it will definitely continue to work in other ways. And especially when you work in the nonprofit sector and capacity is low, there's no limits to like how you could practice efficiency. And then we have Belle. Our group discussed the different giving platforms we use, as well as specific strategies with students and parents in higher education, also aiming to better with social media strategies. Thanks so much for sharing, Belle. Always great to kind of tuck a little bit more further, get to know your audience a bit better, especially when it comes to students and the education sector. I feel like once you become familiar with what they are interested in and what kind of gets what they kind of like interacting with on social. That's always really helpful. I'm going to let all of these, everyone keep sharing their insights, and feel free to continue the conversation on to your WhatsApp groups. That's always really exciting to like hear and follow on with. And while you continue sharing, I'm going to move on to our next step. So the next steps is to first set your goals. You already started doing that on this call, but now you have more time to make it your goals even more smarter. So do take your time to do that. And then we would like for you to review and refine your channel. So make sure you are set up on the right online fundraising tools to suit your needs. Feel free to watch this recording back to see what Jasmine shared about the different fundraising platforms. And then also create your own fundraising strategy. And you can follow our Lightful Academy course to take this learning to the next level and access our fundraising strategy template. And Sabina has just shared that in the chat now. And also, I know lots of you have been working towards completing your match actions, and you'll actually be receiving an email later today with an update and your next steps. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And as I mentioned, we've had a lot of amazing messages coming in through the chat here today. So please do continue the conversation onto your WhatsApp group, and you could join that via the link that Sabina will share and the QR code. So I'll give you a moment to scan that. And then in the meantime, I'm going to launch our final poll. Which has been launched. So will you be running a fundraising campaign in the next 6 months? And how confident do you feel in your organization's ability to raise unrestricted income through your digital channels? And also, please do rate the usefulness of this session. And we do have time for questions and answers, but I can see we had a really good and interesting question come in from Karen, who said, we talked about how donors feel about online giving fees. Would like to hear experiences from other organizations. So if any other organizations or anyone in this call also has anything to share about how donors feel about their online giving fees, please do feel free to reply back or even come off mute and share any insights. Or if not related, if you do have any general questions about anything we've spoken about here today or Bridge, let us know. This is your time.
I think I might have, I don't know if the poll came up for everyone. I may have broken it. So I'm just gonna reopen it. Or has anyone seen a poll come up? Maybe no,
I see
doesn't
some
look
shaking of
hopeful.
heads. Oh, okay.
Let me try it again and see if it works. Oh, I'm getting a funny kind of error. Oops. Having all kinds of fun with Zoom lately. But yeah, I also thought Karen's question about online giving fees was really interesting. So I think sometimes it's a really small amount, and then as a donor, I've definitely done it when I've been contributing to people's pages, for like if they're doing a sponsored run or something, and if it's like not very much and it rounds up or something, and it explains why, I feel like that's quite a nice journey for a donor. But also, yeah, if it becomes a bigger amount, I could see that being a barrier. But I see Elizabeth shared that most of your donors will choose to pay the fee. That's really helpful to know. But yeah, feel free if anyone has any other insights to share. It'd be great.
And we've had Savannah share that the fees for donations is almost 50-50. Most people do not see the ability to offset, and our partner organizations have encouraged, have asked to include this in the message so more are aware of it. I agree. I think definitely if that's not an option, then just being transparent with it is always a good option. But I can see that our time together has come to an end. But if you do have any further questions about anything we've spoken about here today, or even the program, feel free to email us at support@lightful.com. And other than that, I would like to thank you all for joining us here today, and I hope you all found it helpful. And see you in our next session. Bye, everyone.
Bye everyone, have a great day.